Hello, it is Miss Tate, and I'm here talking to you with a sad heart. This is the data from our benchmark yesterday. Just look that over for a little bit. If anyone's laughing or thinks this is funny, we can have a separate conversation about that. This is depressing. I looked at this when I was teaching my 5th graders during class because I was so excited to see how you guys do. My last group of students that I taught at Explore, and I see this. This makes me feel like a failure because whatever I did in 4th grade clearly didn't set up you guys for success in 6th grade. I know I talked about this data with Mr. Cush and Mr. Leo, and it's sad because we have so many students that are not doing what they need to be doing and are not learning. As someone that helps our 7th and our 8th grade teachers, this makes me terrified for us as we move ahead in math. Because if we're struggling this much in 6th grade, it's only going to get harder. Right now we have 5 students who are performing like they're in 7th grade. Awesome. We have 20 students who are performing like they're in 6th grade. We have 33 students that are performing like they're in 5th grade, and we have a ton of students, way too many, 35 students, our biggest category, that are failing. I'm going to work hard and try to brainstorm and figure out what we need to do, but all of you are responsible too. And if you're goofing around in class or if you think this is funny, you're not going to meet your goals. And going to and through college is going to be even harder than it already is. We already say it's climbing a mountain. And being this bad in math for many of us is going to be a huge barrier that we have to overcome. I'm going to teach you guys how to really make sure we understand how to determine the missing angle in a triangle. That was one of the hardest questions for us. I literally, instead of going to skate night, am giving up some of my Thursday night so that I could show you this. I looked at your tests already and did this for you because I want you to be successful. Treat this seriously because knowledge is power. That's what we believe here at KIPP. This is the problem that many of us got wrong on our benchmark. It says in triangle FGH shown below, what is the measure of angle F in degrees? Only 14% of us. 14%. 14% is the same as 14 out of 100 is the same as 0.14 tenths hundredths. This means that only 14 out of 100 students got this question correct. That means that 86 of us were totally confused. Hopefully after my video, I can help explain this and we can do a lot better. You will need this piece of paper to be successful, so make sure you have that now. What we're going to do today is determine the missing angle in a triangle. I first want to start with the basics and look at a rectangle. This is a rectangle. I always say rectangle, right angle. Rectangle, right angle. A rectangle is a quadrilateral with 4 right angles. Most of us should know that right angles are 90 degrees. So this rectangle has 4 90-degree angles. That means that it has these 4 like this. In geometry, we need to determine how much a certain angle is, and we can see that this is 90, 90, 90, 90. So this is 90 times 4, which makes 360 degrees. Any quadrilateral in the world, the inside angle measures will always equal 360 degrees. That's something we have to remember in math. It's like a key fact. But today we're talking about triangles, so I want to make sure we understand where this number comes from. With a triangle, we're basically taking a rectangle and splitting it in half, because 2 triangles makes a rectangle. So what that means is that 360 divided by 2 just makes 90, a half a 90, and a half a 90, and 2 halves of 90 make another 90, which is 180 degrees. This is a key point, and I want everyone to write this really big right now. The interior, which means the inside, the interior angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. The interior angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. Star it, decorate it, do what you want, put it in your brain and don't let it out. 180 degrees. Let me say it again. 180 degrees. What's that you say? 180 degrees. That's the number we have to remember. The interior angles in a triangle are always going to be 180 degrees. Let's break that down as we determine a missing angle in a triangle. Ooh, it's missing. Let's go to number 1. So, we're looking at this triangle. We know that 40 degrees, that's just the way we measure angles in degrees, plus this missing one, which is A, plus the square is going to equal 180 degrees. The total of a triangle, interior angles, are always 180 degrees. You're going to get sick of me saying that because I'm trying to make sure it's in our brains. So, when you think about this is a very important symbol that we need to memorize in geometry. Remember, that is a square corner. And just like our right angles earlier, our square corners always equate to 90 degrees. So this is going to be 90 degrees. So what we're saying is we have 40 degrees plus 90 degrees plus A equaling 180 degrees. Because we know that the three of them together make 180. So 4 plus 9 is 13. And then I have my 10, so 130 degrees plus A equals 180. Some of us just might know that 13 plus a number makes 18, or I could just do subtraction. 180 minus 130 makes 50 degrees. So A right here is 50 degrees. You could also think, since I know this is 90, I know that these two angles together have to be 90, because 90 plus 90 makes 180. So this is 40. 4 plus what makes 9? 5. Make it 50. So that's angle 4A. Angle A is 50 degrees. Angle A equals 50 degrees. Okay? Now let's check out number 2. Number 2 is a little bit more challenging because we can see a decimal. Decimals make things a pinch more complicated, but nothing I know you guys can't handle. So, here we have 32 and 5/10 degrees, and this one's 16. And we look at angle B. We should be able to tell that angle B is going to be obtuse, because it's a pretty big angle. It's very spread out. From here to here, that would be if it's 90 degrees. But clearly it's going obtuse, and it's leaning back a little bit more. So I should know that this number is going to be greater than 90 degrees. That'll help me check my work. So let's check it out. I know that the interior angles in a triangle are 180 degrees. So B is equal to 32 and 5/10 degrees plus 16 degrees. My bad. Sorry guys. B plus 32 and 5/10 degrees plus 16 degrees equals 180 degrees. My apologies. Let's make sure we got it. This plus this plus this make 180 degrees. So, let's add together what I do know. 32 and 5/10 plus 16. Now we have to be careful here because we have to be careful with our decimals and our place value. This is 16 whole, so it's just going to go under 32. Since it doesn't have a decimal, I can put a decimal place value and put a 0 here as a placeholder. So now I'm going to add this together. 5/10 plus 0/10 makes 5/10. I'm going to make my decimals nice and lined up. 2 ones plus 6 ones is 8 ones. 3 tens plus 1 10 is 48. So we have 48 and 5/10. That is what 16 plus 32 and 5/10 is. These are just these two angles. So now I want to figure out what this is. And remember, this is kind of like a part, part, part. And our whole triangle is 180 degrees. So I know I need to subtract to figure out my missing part. So let's check it out. 180 minus 48.5. I think this is where a lot of us made mistakes. So when I write 48, I need to put the 4D, because it's in the tens place, under the 8, and the 8 in the ones place under the 0 in the ones place. Now I have 0.5. Up here, I want to make sure I have a place value to take 5/10 away from, so I'm going to put 0.0 like that. And now, we are going to subtract, because this is the total, and I'm taking away 2 angles to figure out the missing part, which is going to be angle B. When I do this, I need to be very careful. This is a common misconception. So I'm going to name it, I'm going to say it, I'm going to say it again. Here's a common misconception. 0 minus 5 is 5. You can't just take 5 away from 0. So this 0 needs to go to the ones place. There's still nothing there. So I'm going to go to 80 and change that to 7. I'm going to come here and now give my ones 10 ones. But this is still a 0, and we can't have 5 picking on poor little 0 like that. So I'm going to change these 10 ones to 9 ones. He now becomes a 10. Now we are set up to subtract. We are set up to subtract because all of these digits here are larger than the digits we're going to subtract from. So 10 minus 5 makes 5. I'm keeping my decimal nice in order. Now we're going to the ones place. 9 minus 8 is 1. Going to the tens place, 7 minus 4 is 3. Coming over here, 1 minus nothing is 1. So this means that we have 131 and 5/10 degrees for angle B. Let's see if this makes sense. 131, that's bigger than 90 because this is an obtuse angle. So that looks pretty good. We can check our work with that. I can also check my work by adding this angle plus this angle plus this angle. That'd be an awesome way to check my work. And remember, they should equal a total of 180. Yay! You're going to be sick of me saying it. I'm going to ask some of you at dismissal. The number it has to be is 180 degrees. So here we go. Let's add 131 and 5/10 plus 32 and 5/10 plus 16 and no tenths. See how carefully I wrote those numbers and made sure I had correct decimal place value. I'm going to keep my decimals nice in order. 5 plus 5 is 10. Regroup to 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 2 is 4. Plus 6 is 10 again. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 3 makes 8. And we get 180 degrees. Check. That should make sense because there's 180 degrees on the interior of a triangle. Last but not least, we're going to do number 3. On number 3, we can see that we have 2 angles labeled and 1 angle missing. Remember, how many degrees? 180! I'm sick of saying it. Remember it, put it in your brain. The interior angles of a triangle always sum, which means they add up to 180 degrees. So let's check this out. I'm looking at this angle. This angle is different than the angle up here. This was a larger angle. This one is closer together with these 2 line segments. So this is going to be an acute angle. So that means we know it's going to be less than 90 degrees. That's just an easier way to check our work. So I know that 34 and 3/10 plus 110 and 6/10 plus x is going to equal 180 degrees because 180 degrees is my total for all 3 angles. So let's add them up. 110 and 6/10 plus 34 and 3/10. I'm adding those up carefully. 6 plus 3/10 makes 9/10. 0 plus 4 makes 4. 1 plus 3 makes 4. And 1 makes that. Aha. Well, that was weird. This is the total of these 2 angles. So these 2 angles sum to 144 and 9/10 degrees. But to figure out this angle, I need to take this away from, what's that number again? 180. So here we go. 180 degrees minus 144.9 degrees. If we look here, we're going to run into an issue because this cannot be taken away from there. So I'm going to put 0.0 so I have something I can actually take away from. Ignore that little degree. I'm going to subtract. 0 minus 9. I cannot do that, just like here, so we have to be careful with our subtraction. I'm going to go to my 8 and change it to a 7, change my 0 to a 10 ones, change my 10 ones to 9 ones, and change my 0 to 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. Make sure my decimal is nice in order. 9 minus 4 is 5, and 7 minus 4 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. So I'm getting that this angle makes 35.1 or 35 and 1/10. That does make sense because it's acute and it looks pretty small. So 35 and 1/10 makes sense to me. but let's make sure we got it. To make sure we got it, we're going to do 35 1/10 plus 110 6/10 plus 34 3/10. The hardest part about this, guys, is making sure your decimals are very, very carefully in order. So that looks good. We're going to do 1 plus 6 plus 3, which makes 10. 5 and 4 and 1 makes 10 again. 1, 1, 3, and 3 make 8. And then we have 180 degrees. Check. This is how we determine the missing angle in a triangle. The key point is that it should always make 180 degrees in total. So what you guys are going to do right now, you're going to take your paper and you're going to flip it over. You guys have 8 problems that you need to do. The problems increase in difficulty from pretty easy, you don't have any decimals, and then they get more and more challenging. Please take your time. I will be taking this as a grade. You need to enter all of your answers into a puzzle. Thank you so much. Let's rock it out so that we don't have so many students failing 6th grade. Thank you so much.